What is up, guys? Humble Farmer Taiki here, and I'm back with Farms of the Week. If you like the content, please like and subscribe, and check out the premium Discord. Link will be in the description below. The first thing I do have to talk about is Blast, the layer 2, backed by Paradigm and other influencers. And I will be honest, when I first saw this thing, I was pretty disgusted, but I did change my tune. I do want to give my honest opinions because I think there's a lot of emotions when it comes to this type of topic, but I want to lay out the facts and I guess see if it's worth farming or not. So let's talk about like the negative side. Okay, so when Blast was first announced, they raised $20 million from Paradigm, yada yada yada. It's the layer 2 with native yield, and I think the point where a lot of people got mad is looking at the people that invested, right? It's like the same names over and over again. They don't really participate in the liquid markets. All they do is participate in private deals, get rich, and they just like profit off of having followers. I mean, I'll be honest, like most of these people, I'm friendly with them. Like I think they're like not bad people, but if they have this opportunity to get into Blast at like a $200 million market cap, or FDV, or like whatever the valuation was, I think it makes sense for them to participate. It's just really upsetting from a liquid market participator's perspective, because what are we supposed to do, right? Another new airdrop farm backed by Paradigm and influencers. As a liquid market participator, I have no choice but to farm this thing. It's also tiresome. And you can kind of get the sentiment because I wrote a bullish piece on it, which I will talk about. And as soon as I wrote this, I got a lot of hate. And there's like accounts like this. If you watch the timeline closely, you can see Paradigm handing out influencer allocations in real time. Because initially, I kind of gave them shit for it, right? It's like, what the hell is going on? There's a 3-month withdrawal lockup, LMAO, and then I post something bullish, and people automatically assume that I invested or I got some free tokens. So first of all, I will say, this is an important topic of mine because, my channel, and when I first started this channel, I started out with an ethos. And there were a lot of problems with crypto YouTubers, crypto Twitter influencers, and I wanted to do something different. And the first thing I pledged to do was to not run ads on my channel, right? You can kind of see here, I don't run ads, I don't run YouTube ads, like just nothing, right? Just nothing. Because I want to focus on quality, not quantity, and not really doing like clickbaity stuff. Second, I don't have sponsors, I don't do paid promotions, and I don't really have centralized exchange ref links, okay? Because I want to just make good content. Second of all, I wrote about this here, I'm the founder of a DeFi company. I have a personal mandate to not participate in seed or angel deals, aka the private markets. If I'm posting research about the liquid markets, there's a conflict of interest if I'm getting rich on private deals. Okay, so I mean, technically I do have the opportunity to participate in these influencer deals. I just choose not to because I think, just ethics, right? So let's just get that out of the way, and just understand that I have no vested interest in this. I just want to pitch this farm to you, and you can figure out if you want to, participate or not. So the idea is you can bridge to this layer 2, and you can kind of see here, right? This is Blast, and I'll put the link in the description below. And you can bridge and you can get points. So far, I've only bridged 0.18. You can kind of see here, and I have 1,800 points. I'm not even gonna, post my referral link because that's how much I don't care. Okay, about making rich, getting rich off of YouTube videos and whatnot. So the idea is, let's go back to my post here. There's a lot of market inefficiencies when it comes to these layer 2s. And in this bullish post, I highlighted the fact that, for example, the Arbitrum bridge has $2.5 billion in the bridge contract. So if you want to bridge to Arbitrum, you go on Ethereum mainnet, you give the bridge Ether, and then in return, the Arbitrum bridge will give you like a receipt token of the Ether. And if you're gonna bridge back, then you burn the receipt token and get the ETH in return on the other side. But the Ether is just sitting there. Okay, there's $2.5 billion worth of value just sitting there, not being staked. If all this ETH were staked, earning 4%, hypothetically, with Lido and whatnot, it would mean that Arbitrum could be making $100 million in ETH per year. And they could technically give this yield back to Arbitrum token holders. They probably won't, right? They'll probably keep all the profits, but they technically could. And similarly, you can say the same thing about stablecoin bridges. People send stablecoins to a bridge and it's just sitting there. But there's a market inefficiency. For example, Tether, right? They take all your, if you mint Tether, you give them USD, they mint USDT, and with all the backing, they just put it all into T-bills, earning 5%, and then they make $1 billion every single quarter. It's a very profitable business. And Blast just says, like, why don't we just stake all the stablecoins? Why don't we just stake all the Ether and then just give out that yield to its users? I think on the surface, it's a good idea. And objectively, right, I think if Blast didn't have all these like influencer investors, I think people would welcome it. But I just think the fact, it's just controversial because, like, oh my God, like all these influencers are going to be making so much money. I hate this idea, which I totally understand. But from a farming perspective, all you have to do is, send Ether stablecoins to this contract. There is a 3 to 4 month lockup. So if you send ETH over, there's no way to bridge back. So I think if you think rationally, if you have Ether, right, or if you have stables that you're not going to touch for 3 to 4 months, I think it's worth bridging. Because, if you're going to, it's kind of like a forced diamond hands, right? Because, all the ETH is going to be staked with Lido, so it's earning 3.6%, I believe, right now, and all the stablecoins are going to be earning 5%. So you're already earning the native yield of stablecoins and Ether. And then I think by like May or April of next year, we'll be getting some, bridge, like Blast tokens. And like I mentioned, right, I only bridged 0.1. Whoops, what the hell did this do? Hold up, okay. I only bridged 0.1 ETH over, you can kind of see here, because there is an opportunity cost and there's no rush, okay? And, there's already $500 million in here, so is it really worth farming this thing? I'm not quite sure. I'm still thinking about it because it's interesting because I think a lot of layer 1s and L2s, their valuation models, it's somewhat correlated with TVL, right? So if people bridge more and more funds over to Blast, then the implied valuation of Blast goes up. And if the implied valuation of Blast goes up, it makes more sense to bridge because, you'll be getting like some Blast tokens and it's going to be worth more. And it's pretty reflexive. So, as more and more people bridge, it increases the implied valuation of Blast. And then if the implied valuation of Blast goes up, then more people bridge. And then you kind of have this loop. But, just understand the fact that if you send money over, then it's impossible, or, you can't bridge it back. Or, you can't get it back for 4 months. I try not to say bridge because there is no bridge, but, I still kind of get in this trouble. And it's pretty crazy because there's this market on Avo. So they just pre-launched futures of Blast, the layer 2, and they just assume that, okay, for simplicity, let's assume that 1 billion tokens are going to be in the supply for simplicity, and then people can trade, what they think is worth. So if you buy this Blast token for $1 and it ends up having like a $5 billion FDV at launch, then, you'll be able to, sell it for $5 if you wanted to. So it's like this very illiquid market that allows people to speculate on the future valuation of Blast. And right now, let me refresh this actually, because this number always changes. And this is kind of dumb, to be honest, because it's so illiquid. If you look at the 24-hour volume, it's $36,000. So there's no one trading this. Okay, but right now it's roughly 4.3, 4.5, like whatever the price is. So the implied valuation is $4.5 billion. And it is kind of dumb because there is no layer 2. Okay, they're just promising that there is going to be something. And crypto degens just gave them $570 million. Which is kind of nuts. But from a farming perspective, if you just think about it from an expected value perspective, like if you have, let's say, like 5, 10 ETH that you're just going to hold no matter what, and you're not going to sell in the next 4 months, then like why not just bridge some over, and then maybe in 4 months you'll get like a few $100s, or maybe if you're lucky a few $1,000s worth of free Blast tokens, and you can just dump it in the open market. And Ether, right, it gets staked. If you send stables, it's earning 5%. So there's little opportunity cost. The only opportunity cost is if you send like all your stablecoins over to this, and then a crazy bull market happens and you want to buy stuff, then you won't be able to because it's just stuck here. So that's the only risk. And for that reason, I only bridged 0.1 ETH. Okay, I might bridge more later, but just to start out, I bridged 0.1 ETH. It gave me like 1,800 points, and there's a lot of like gamification involved. There's like this, squad reward. I don't even know what this is. This isn't even. I mean, it kind of gives like this allure of like slots or something. But we all know this is like fake, right? I mean, everyone gets like like a good luck figure. It's just gamification. It gets people to like come back to this website. It's very, very smart, I think. And the developer Pac-Man, I think he's a really, really good builder. I mean, he built Blur, and I mean, yeah, I think it makes sense. So I had CL on the podcast, the cat, and I uploaded this yesterday, and he mentioned that, you know, it's probably not worth him personally farming this, just because it's being diluted more and more. And I do think that this AVO market is kind of like, I mean, yeah, like, I mean, first of all, like, this isn't even real, right? And, you know, it's very illiquid. I think $4.5 billion for this is way too high, but I do think that the idea makes sense. So going back to this original topic, let's kind of think about what types of applications can be built, because there's so many layer twos. They all command these like crazy valuations. But let's actually think about the applications that can be built here. So there's this project on Gnosis chain called Agave. And they kind of did the same thing, but I mean, they did it before without like the whole airdrop farming points. But what they do is Gnosis chain stakes all the DAI bridged into DSR, earning 5%. And if you want to earn the yield that comes from this, you can stake your DAI on Gnosis chain, and you know it's earning 7.3%. So how does this work? So let's say $100 million worth of stablecoins are bridged to Blast, and only $50 million get staked, and the rest is sitting in wallets or being used in DeFi. Cool. If $100 million is earning 5% and only $50 million is staked for yield, then users can receive 10% yield without any Ponzi mechanics, right? Because 5% of 100 is $5 million. And if only $50 million is earning that, then it's 10% APY. There's no leverage. There's like nothing crazy involved. It's just, okay, it's exploiting a market inefficiency. So if Blast like does it like this, then yeah, I mean, you can earn a pretty safe yield on stablecoins without having to take on that much smart contract risk. The only, you know, risk you're taking is, well, like where's the yield coming from? You know, MakerDAO owns $3 billion worth of short-term T-bills, earning 5%. So, you know, you're basically relying on Maker to like not rug. But, you know, Maker's been around for, I mean, it's one of the oldest DAOs. So, you know, I guess like the risk in Blast is that there's an over-reliance on Maker and Lido. But I also think that, you know, it's very, very bullish for Lido and Maker because it kind of entrenches them as the most liquid like leaders, or it kind of entrenches them as category leaders in the space. So like that's one option of what could happen. And the second option is, you know, let's say there's like no like staking and whatnot, right? Let's say that, you know, USDB, which is like the stablecoin on Blast, is just paying 5% from Maker, and like that's flat. And you know, like that alone is not that big of a like that much of a compelling product. But I also mentioned that, hey, like the future of finance, right? I mean, like maybe not the future of finance, but like the future of like DeFi. Why are we LPing ETH and USDC? Why don't we LP staked ETH and staked DAI? Okay, because staked ETH is earning 3.6%, staked DAI earning 5%. Like, I mean, this is a much better product than just wet USDC. Of course, there is, you know, illiquidity risk, unstaking risk and whatnot. But if you expect DeFi to grow in market cap and adoption, then, you know, like products like this should be de-risked over time. So this was always like part of my thesis around yield and DeFi. You know, like more and more stablecoins are going to be staked with projects like Maker DAO. More and more ETH is going to be staked with projects like Lido. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. But if you think about, you know, projects like Arbitrum, they're not doing this, right? They just have $2.5 billion. It's not doing anything. Technically, they could stake it and give it back to its own company, right? You know, so the value accrues to the equity, or they can give it back to Arbitrum stakers. But we all know that they're not going to do that, and there are, you know, complexities back then. And if you've been watching my channel, if you've been watching my videos for quite some time, you know, I've mentioned that, you know, this is how DeFi exits the bear market. And you know, back in July, I said that the end of the DeFi bear market is upon us, and the new bull market is forming before our very eyes. And if you actually look at what I was saying in July and August, I was saying that, you know, part of the reason why TVL left the DeFi ecosystem is because the Fed started raising rates. And, you know, if you can earn 5% on Fidelity, why do we hold stablecoins on chain earning like 1%, right? With all the additional smart contract risk associated with it. So like back in July, I started to notice this trend, like MakerDAO, of like these DAOs giving the risk-free rate on chain. And I thought that this was going to help stop the bleed of the stablecoin market cap. Therefore, more money stays on chain. and more money flows on chain over time, which leads to more wealth. And more wealth should mean that there's more buying pressure, right? More purchasing power amongst DeFi degens and DeFi natives that will help support asset prices. And like I don't think it's that much of a surprise. And there's like no way for me to prove this. But is it really a coincidence that the stablecoin market cap bottomed around the time of like the whole RWA tokenized treasury thesis? I don't think it's. I mean, I'm sure it's not 1-to-1, but I don't think it's that off, right? It's my belief that the next DeFi bull market is going to be led by on-chain adoption of RWAs and yield-driven products. So if that's my thesis, if I'm bullish Maker, if I'm bullish Canto, then it's rational for me to be bullish Blast. Okay, it doesn't mean that I got a influencer allocation. It doesn't mean that I get free tokens. No, it makes sense. Like this product makes sense. And I think a year, 2, 3 years from now, I think a lot of layer 2s, a lot of projects are going to just look like this. And Blast is just the first one to just really, put it in front of our faces. People just don't like it because of all the influencers, which I understand, right? Like I don't like it. If I had the option, I would I would prefer them all lose their money, to be honest. Maybe what would be good for the ecosystem is we all retail gets tokens, we all dump it and no one buys it back. And all these token influencers, their money is locked in these vesting tokens and it's worth nothing, right? But I mean, rationally speaking, I think they're all going to make money. I don't like it, right? You don't like it, you don't have to like it, but we're talking about farms here, right? We're talking about farms of the week. Why not send some ETH over, right? If you're not planning to sell it, is my hopefully objective take. There's a lot of Ethereum maxis, decentralization maxis that's it's not a bridge, right? It's a scam. It's a multi-sig. I mean, yeah, but I mean, honestly, they're backed by Paradigm. Paradigm is one of the best VC firms, to be honest. I think they've gone some negativity recently. And I think as a result, Dan Robinson kind of said, hey, we invested in them, but I don't really condone their actions. They kind of just wrote 3 paragraphs saying that we don't like this, but it's whatever, right? Blast backed but not fully endorsed by Paradigm, and I was like, oh shit, time to bridge back. This was kind of a shit post because I know you can't bridge back, but that's kind of how I think about Blast. I think it's worth farming if you have Ether that you're not going to touch, because by definition it's profitable, as long as they don't rug. Okay, if you send ETH over in 3 to 4 months, you get your Ether back, and then you get some Blast tokens. I mean, if we all make a few $100, a few $1,000s off of this, then do we really have the right to complain about these VCs, seed influencers? I think there is a conflict of interest recently, where influencers can just grow a following and then be paid basically to just shill things. But what can we do, right? We can all complain about it, but what good does that do? And also, I think that a lot of people just complain because it gets engagement, right? It's really easy for people to just hate on Blast, and then everyone get likes and retweets and gets engagement, and it makes themselves feel better. But from a pure monetary perspective, I think it makes sense to farm this with some of your capital if you can afford it, if you're fine with a lockup, and that's my honest opinion. Hopefully. That is clear. Wow, I did not expect to be talking about this for 20 minutes, but okay, let's do some rapid fire farms on the Arbitrum ecosystem. So let's go. So yeah, I did talk about this here, right? I'm not going to read through this. Let's just talk about some of these Arbitrum driven farms. So if you go to DeFi Llama, you look at the derivatives volume, you see that there's some random perp dexes here, the DYDX should be the market leader, but there's a Vertex protocol, there's Hyperliquid. What's up with that, right? $1 billion of 24-hour volume. What's up with that? So let's talk about Vertex first. So they did a token launch. I don't own this thing, but it's been doing pretty well. 74 million market cap, $500 million FDV. But where's the volume coming from? Well, right now they have Arbitrum and Vertex incentives, where you trade, you get tokens. So there's a lot of wash trading going on. And there's a lot of cynicism when it comes to this. So for example, this is the volumes for Quenta, the perp dex on Optimism. And you can kind of see that, whenever there are incentives, there's a lot of people that trade on the thing. But as soon as those incentives go away, no one trades on this thing. So yeah. So are these volumes real? Probably not. I think most of this volume is people like wash trading and just like getting these tokens. But it doesn't mean that it's a bad project, right? Sure, like right now it might be fake volume and wash trading, but if the project is good and people end up like trading on it in the future, then chances are, it can be a good project. So you can go to like, let's look into like Perps market, and you can trade these things. So if you are trading on like centralized exchanges or like decentralized exchange options, I do think it makes sense for people to pursue these types of opportunities because, if you're trading anyways, then might as well be compensated. And Hyperliquid is also doing this. So you go here, Vertex is up here, Hyperliquid is also down here. Hyperliquid, they have this point system. I have 0 points, and I'm in the wooded league, right? This makes me feel really bad, even though I literally don't care. Like wood, right? Like who wants to be in the wood category? So I guess good branding from their part. I used to farm this thing. So if you go here, there's this hyperliquidity provider vault, I suppose, where you can deposit stable coins. There's $12 million in here, and you can receive some APR. So it's kind of similar to GLP, MuxLP, where you become the house, but you do take on the risk of the platform. I used to be in here. I'm no longer in there, but maybe it might be worth farming if you think that these PerpDex tokens can do so. It can do well. For this thing to have $500 million in FDV is pretty ridiculous to me. But hey, like metrics look good. People farm, and if you look at other Perps DEX farms, there's MuxLP, which also does have these Arbitrum rebates where if you trade on the platform, you get fee rebates. So if you're like, I honestly think that if you're like trading like on leverage, I don't really condone that, right? I don't really trade on leverage and whatnot. But if you were, I think it makes sense to look into the Arbitrum ecosystem. MuxLP, right, more established, but they don't really have like free tokens to give away. But they rebate you in Arb tokens. So even if you're break even, you get some back end fees. Hyperliquid gives you points. Vertex gives you tokens, and of course GMX. They don't really give you tokens to trade, but if you want to LP, you get some additional tokens. So the base APR comes from the fees, and then the bonus APR comes from AR, like ARB token incentives. So there's that. And if you look at DEX volumes on Arbitrum, you also see that, okay, the Vertex is up here. There's also Camelot and Trader Joe. And both of these DAOs also got tokens. I mentioned this before, but I'll also mention it again because the yields are still pretty good. If you can LP for USDC Ether, it gives you 13% additional in ARB tokens. And you can kind of go down a list. And these yields, not so bad, right? Not so bad. And Trader Joe, also another DEX on Arbitrum. You can kind of go here. This gives you some Joe tokens. I think like the pools that contain Arbitrum tokens, like Pendle and GMX. So all these pools give away ARB tokens. So if you want to dabble around with concentrated liquidity, I think it's worth like trying to educate yourself. Like LP farming for Arbitrum is kind of complex because you get rewarded more the tighter your liquidity range is, which this is like a topic for a whole nother video. But like the fees are cheap. You're being paid in tokens. Like might as well like try it out. So that's it for me. I mostly spent talking about Blast, but I did want to just talk about it. Like this thread, right? Like makes me think about this thread like makes me sound like some Blast maxi, but like literally I only bridged 0.1 ETH. Okay, like it's like I'm bullish, but I'm not like that bullish. But I do expect myself to eventually bridge there at some point, or more funds at some point. Okay, so I think 24 minutes in, I'll wrap it up there. Anything else? Yeah, I think I talked about everything. Blast. I think it makes sense. I'm super bullish real world assets. I think it's gonna gain more adoption, and I think any project that adopts it makes sense. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. If if you liked it, please let me know. Check out the premium Discord. Link will be in the description below. And happy farming. And given that the markets seem to be pulling back a little bit, maybe, for a humble farmer, it makes sense to say, you know what, like, I'm okay giving up some upside. Let me just sell half my Bitcoin, half my Ether, LP in, GMX, for example, LP in Camelot, for example, USDC Ether. Of course, you have to think about transaction fees, taxes, and whatnot. But it's always good to know where there are good yields, because it also gives you the opportunity to be flexible when it comes to your portfolio construction. And it's always nice to have yield, right? There's always a peace of mind to be a humble farmer. So, Farmer Taiki here with the Rake, signing off. Bye bye.